The rain came down like the sky had broken. Not gentle rain. Not a soft drizzle. This was a storm that felt angry, loud, and heavy, as if heaven itself was crying for someone. Inside the small roadside diner, everything was quiet. The place was usually full by morning, but today only one man sat alone near the window. His name was Rowan, and he looked like someone life had knocked down too many times. His clothes were worn. His hands were rough. His eyes were the kind of tired you don't sleep away. But today, for the first time in weeks, Rowan had saved enough to buy a real breakfast. Eggs, toast, and coffee that wasn't cheap. He had just lifted the fork when the diner door flew open. And that was when everything changed. A woman stumbled inside like the storm had pushed her in. She was shaking so badly her legs almost gave way. Her hair was dripping. Her clothes were torn. Her lips were colorless and trembling. And her eyes carried the kind of fear most people never see in their lifetime. The whole diner turned to look at her, but no one moved. No one spoke, except the waitress who stepped forward slowly. "What do you need, sweetheart?" The woman's voice came out so soft the storm outside almost swallowed it. "Help, please." The word didn't travel far, but it hit Rowan's heart like a punch. He didn't know why he stood up. It wasn't planned. It wasn't brave. Maybe he remembered what his daughter Meera once told him. "Daddy, when someone is sad, give them your sunshine." So Rowan walked toward the stranger with his untouched plate in his hands. He placed it gently in front of her. "You need this more than I do," he said softly. The woman stared at the plate as if she wasn't sure it was real. Her fingers shook when she finally took it. She didn't eat like someone who was hungry. She ate like someone who hadn't eaten in days. Tears slipped down her cheeks and mixed with the raindrops on her skin. Rowan sat across from her, not eating, not speaking, just making sure she didn't collapse. After a few minutes she whispered, "My name is a raven," but she said nothing else. Not where she came from, not what happened to her, not why she looked like she had escaped something terrible. Rowan didn't ask. He recognized the silence of trauma. He had lived inside it once after Meera's mother died and left him alone with debts, grief, and a child who needed him more than he knew how to give. When she finished eating, a raven didn't get up. She held the empty paper wrapper in her hands and stared at it like a lifeline. Her breathing stayed uneven. Her shoulders kept trembling. The storm outside finally eased, but she didn't. Rowan called Meera's school and said he'd be late picking her up. Then he took off his jacket and placed it over a raven's shoulders. She tried to push it back, embarrassed maybe, but Rowan gently wrapped it around her. Her eyes widened in shock, like kindness was something she had not seen in a long time. The two of them sat in silence for almost an hour. Slowly, a raven's shaking eased, but fear still lived in her eyes, like a shadow that followed her everywhere. She told Rowan she had nothing with her except her small camera, a simple device she held tightly with both hands, almost protectively. "No phone? No money?" Rowan asked gently. She shook her head. He nodded without judgment. Rowan offered to drive her somewhere safe, but a raven's body tensed instantly. She pulled the camera close and shook her head over and over. Rowan didn't pressure her. Instead, he slid the remaining change from his pocket across the table. "You can get another meal later." It wasn't much. It meant he would probably skip dinner, but it meant survival for her. She whispered, "Thank you," her voice cracking like a broken glass edge. When she stood up to leave, a terrible feeling rose inside him, like he was watching someone walk back into danger he couldn't stop. At the door, she paused. She looked back one more time. Her eyes met his, full of something he didn't understand. Then she stepped out into the weak daylight and disappeared. Rowan didn't see her again. Not that day. Not the next. Not the week after. Not even the month after. He began to think maybe she had been an angel or a ghost of the storm. But he was wrong. The consequence of that morning was coming. And it was coming fast. A sleek envelope arrived in Rowan's mailbox. He almost dropped it when he saw the embossed gold lettering on the front. Legal offices. Law firm names he had only seen in movies. His stomach twisted. Lawyers didn't send letters to broke single fathers unless something was wrong. Very wrong. His hands were shaking when he opened it. Inside was a short message. Mr. Rowan Hale, we request your urgent presence at Vin and Alder Law regarding Ms. Raven Vin. Rowan froze. A Raven. The woman from the diner. The one who vanished. His heartbeat spiked. Was she hurt? Was this about him being the last person who saw her? Was he in trouble? Fear and guilt mixed in his chest. But he needed answers. The next morning he dropped Meera at school and took a bus across the city to a massive glass skyscraper that made him feel small and out of place. Everything inside was polished and expensive. People wore tailored suits. Their shoes clicked with confidence. Rowan stood there in his old jeans and fraying jacket sleeves, wishing he could disappear. A receptionist led him to a quiet conference room with a view of the whole city. Rowan sat with his hands clenched, trying to stop the tremble. Two attorneys walked in, one older, one younger. They sat across from him with a thick folder. Mr. Hale, the older one said. We represent Ms. Raven Vin. Rowan's breath hitched. Is she okay? He asked immediately. She is safe, the man replied. Thanks in large part to you. Relief washed through Rowan so suddenly he had to grip the table to steady himself. But confusion followed right after. What does that mean? Why am I here? The younger attorney slid a photograph from the folder. It showed a Raven standing in front of a high-end art gallery. She was smiling, dressed elegantly, looking healthy, confident, and nothing like the woman from the diner. The lawyers explained softly, Ms. Vin is a world-known photographer. She is also the heir to a significant family fortune. But she recently suffered a violent incident with someone who tried to exploit her work and her personal life. She ran. She hid. She lost everything for a while. Rowan's jaw dropped. But she looked homeless. She was, the lawyer said quietly. Money doesn't protect someone from trauma. Sometimes trauma strips everything. Identity, confidence, safety, logic. The younger attorney leaned forward. She told us that on the worst day of her life when she had nothing, not even hope, you treated her like a human being. You gave her food. You gave her warmth. You didn't ask for anything. And you didn't judge her. Rowan shook his head. Anyone would have done the same. No, the woman replied. Most people didn't. You were the only one. He swallowed hard. The older attorney opened the folder and slid a stack of documents toward him. Ms. Vin is now in a confidential recovery center. She will not be reachable for a long time. But before she left, she made arrangements. Rowan frowned. Arrangements for what? The attorney gave a small smile. For you, Mr. Hale. And for your daughter. Rowan blinked, confused. What? The lawyer turned the papers toward him. It took Rowan several seconds to understand what he was seeing. A financial grant, housing support, child care coverage, 3 years of living expenses, education sponsorship for Rowan. All legally signed, all sealed, all from a Raven. Rowan stared at the papers like they were written in another language. This has to be a mistake. I didn't do anything. You did something rare, the lawyer said softly. You gave hope to someone when she felt invisible. You gave her a meal when she felt like a ghost. Rowan's vision blurred with tears he fought to hold back. The younger attorney added gently, she told us, and I quote, he gave me breakfast when my soul was breaking. I want to give him back his future. Rowan pressed a hand over his mouth. His body shook as he looked away, because he understood something at that moment. You never know who you are saving when you choose kindness. The meeting ended with Rowan walking out of the building holding the folder like it contained sunlight. For the first time in years, the weight of survival wasn't crushing him. He felt hope. Warm, steady hope. Life changed quietly. He and Meera moved into a small but safe apartment. The roof didn't leak. The walls didn't shake when the wind blew. Rowan finally enrolled in a technical drafting training program. A dream he once buried under bills and exhaustion. Meera made new friends. She laughed more. She read more. She grew into her bright little self again. and some evenings Rowan visited the same diner. He would sit in the seat by the window where a raven once shivered like a leaf caught in a storm. He didn't know if she would ever come back, but he hoped that wherever she was healing. Kindness does not always return quickly. It does not always return loudly, but sometimes it comes back in ways you never expect, at the exact moment you need it most. If the story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us share more life-changing stories that remind the world that compassion still matters.